Hello everyone, and welcome to Preserving Memories, where I take precious though vulnerable pieces of our past and refresh, renew, restore them back to their original glory. And in this video, I welcome you to my first rescue piece, at least the first one that I actually restored, and my first sale as well. I decided to make it the perfect opportunity to practice with shellac for the first time. I found this vintage bookshelf in an industrial part of Gardena, a city in Los Angeles. It was small enough to fit into my car, but dirty enough to make me wonder if that was a good idea. Like, is that a used bandage? It was no surprise why whoever was throwing it out decided to throw it out indeed. It was also very heavy. If it did not have a finish, it was so far gone that it became mostly raw wood at this point, though the remnants of the finish were loosely evident. I'm sure it was in a rough environment, enduring a lot of tools and sawdust. But I saw that it was not only salvageable, the hard sturdy frame needing absolutely no repair work, apparently, but even a fairly quick and easy rescue at that. Cleaning. Unconventional methods. Because it was so desperately dirty, I did something that is actually more common than one may think. I took it into the bathtub and gave it a quick shower, scrubbing it thoroughly. This is definitely something I wouldn't do for any piece, most pieces as a matter of fact, no matter how dirty, because of the obvious risks involved, like water saturation that causes the wood to warp and expand later on, or else cause the grain and fibers to soften and become papery. It can also cause the original paint or finish to dig even deeper into the wood and make it that much harder to refinish. I would certainly never do this to a veneered piece, but it was clearly solid, tight-grained wood, and again, so grossly dirty that I was confident a very quick rinse would not hurt it, especially with the sun out to quickly dry it. And I kept it this way for a super long time to ensure all the moisture was completely evaporated. Sanding. Then I did the second step, thankfully bypassing any repair or stripping work. More on that later. I sanded it down to the beautiful original raw wood. The finish was so far gone, again I say, that there was nothing left to scrape off or use some kind of stripper for. So when I say this was a pretty easy job, I mean it really was mostly a breeze to take care of. And it's always nice when expectations meet with reality, is it not? There is so much furniture out there that people don't often realize is actually a solid piece needing of just a little bit of TLC to turn beautiful again. Of all the social, economic, and political revisions we need in this world, I feel like a better system for bringing old furniture back to life is one of them, because there are so many beautiful historic pieces rotting away that are built far better than so many modern ones today. Let's keep furniture out of the landfill. Let's make furniture better again. When I was in school, we didn't have wood shop or metal shop like they did in our parents' and grandparents' generation, and it would be so nice to see those classes return. In fact, my French class in 7th grade was in the school's original wood shop, made learning a different language a unique experience, to be sure. I like to start with a lighter sand grit to assess to what degree the piece needs to be smoothed out and brought back to the bare wood. I purchased 150 grit universal hold Velcro sandpaper to attach directly to my borrowed orbital sander. There is a rhythm to using a sander. You have to be very controlled and push down hard, because it will want to go wherever it wants. This was very satisfying, and I think revealing the raw wood like this lightened it up and already made it look so much better. Arguably, hardly used at all, and brand new looking even. Removing stains and surprise repair work. Alas, maybe there wasn't any repair work that I thought at the time needed addressing, but there were complications of a different sort. There were several very deep ring stains, for example, and so I went to the Home Depot for some acetone, or what I thought was acetone. I drenched it in that spot using the finest steel wool available. I also tried it with sandpaper, but the stain was terribly stubborn. That, and I read that acetone isn't often that effective. I made sure to wipe off the entire area to make sure it was all even, and I did this 3 separate times, though there were also smudge marks on the top and some apparent rust stains from nails holding up shelving along the sides, and so I decided to cover those areas too while I was at it. To get rid of the leftover acetone marks, I just took some sandpaper to very quickly and easily erase it away. The results were positive as the stain itself disappeared, even though the ring shape did not fully go away. I just had to accept this as part of the piece's history and character. This couldn't be said, however, about the surprise repair work that became evident after the wood was sanded and cleared up. To be fair, it was only one sizable crack with a likewise sizable gash by the bottom backboard on the right-hand side. Hardly noticeable, but still important to tackle. This was a quick fix and the grain between the crack was still pretty tight. After roughly gluing the area, I just taped it and then used a carbide scraper to remove the excess wood glue once it dried. Filled another unseeable spot toward the bottom with the same wood glue and just let it dry. So while there were some unexpected repairs, it all went very smoothly. Phew. The design of the piece cried of a different time, with this classic Georgian flower-like shape at the bottom, but the backing was a type of engineered backboard that made it even heavier and made me question how old it really was. I don't know how old this piece might be, whether it was done in mass quantities or crafted bespoke in someone's wood shop with spare wood lying around, and whether it was modified over time and just made to look pretty, but it was giving vintage to me either way. Look at that tight wood grain. You just don't get that anymore, do you now? Once I took care of this stain as best I could, in order to prepare it for the wood finish, I cleaned it up with paint thinner, which has the same effect as mineral spirits, by the way. They are both petroleum-based, though mineral spirits are more refined and the fumes are less potent. Mineral spirits is literally just petroleum distillates with no additives, while paint thinner often includes trimethylbenzene. I hope I pronounced that correctly. This added solvent is probably most helpful in breaking down compounds in paint, while it actually helps restore natural wood finish. Paint thinners also tend to be cheaper, and it was all I could find at my local Home Depot. Whether you choose mineral spirits or paint thinner, both certainly clean up the wood to make repairing or refinishing the wood that much cleaner and smoother of a process with lasting results. Though if you've seen my restoring my great-grandfather's set of dressers video, what a project that was, it can also be applied to help thin out fussy finishes like polyurethane, which I use to finish my heirloomed dressers. That way, you have some grace with the broad, precise strokes you're supposed to make with polyurethane, and be able to apply it more like paint or shellac. And as you can see, the result was sensational. Wood finish, amber-tinted shellac. And speaking of shellac, because of some of the slight but arguably noticeable smudges, nail marks, and the ring shape, I decided to purchase a shellac that had a darker finish to it. And amber made the most sense to me. Shellac is significantly more expensive than finishes like polyurethane because it's made of more natural materials, natural ingredients. Shellac in particular is usually made from the lac bug, but while it's natural and has been used for centuries at the least, you still want to properly ventilate while applying it. You can't use mineral spirits or paint thinners with it because of the compounds that make it what it is. Basically comes on as paint anyways, and its paint-like consistency makes it unnecessary as far as I'm concerned. I regret purchasing really cheap brushes. The reason was because of what a quick and easy job it would be working with shellac, but the size and hold was a bit awkward. Evidently, it got the job done well, but I would use better brushes in the future. It's not common to finish the parts unseen, like what I'm doing here underneath, but I feel it protects the wood from bugs more than anything. In my experience, bugs love raw wood, spiders in particular, and it only helps the longevity as well to put finish where you don't even see it. So I took care of the bottom separately, 3 coats, and it was as smooth an operation as I expected it to be. Of course, I sanded it between coats with superfine grit, cleaning it between coats with paint thinner once dry. I was so pleased with the appetizing gloss. It reminded me of chocolate. And once that was completed, I took care of the rest of it. Between the first and second coat, I made the mistake of leaving it out in the sun where it blistered. Sanding it down was easy, but I'm pointing this out to remind us to be watchful, but also that it's far from the end of the world if you find yourself in this same blistering situation. The amber tint really did help cover the slight but still noticeable scuff marks and stains. I was very proud of my first restored rescue and my first sale as well. It's like a brand new piece, as strong and beautiful as the day it was first constructed. Again, my name is Matthew, reminding you to consider restoring a piece before throwing it away, or at the least finding a person or a place who would take care of it and give it a good home and a new life. Ending is not better than mending. Let's look at the before and after. Thank you, and see you in the next video. Please subscribe.